am so happy to like really have you here, sister. It's that week before Labor Day, and everybody is kind of getting their children back to school, rethinking about their money because they spent a lot over the summer. Businesses are about to go into that August slump because the business changed within that gap before Halloween and Thanksgiving. But you know this because you've been helping businesses through this journey for years.
Right.
Tell us who you are and what company you work for.
Yeah, so Christina Sicard, JP Morgan Chase. I've been with them for 15 years. Most of my career has been around helping businesses anywhere from a million up to 20 plus million in revenue. And for the last 4 years now, I've been consulting and working with entrepreneurs to help them with growing their business, access to capital, navigating cash flow, how to just do overall business development, expand, exit, getting started, all the things.
So the people that's watching this podcast, how do we reach you? Because they are already starting to Google your name, but let's make it easy for them. How do they reach you?
Yeah, so a couple of ways. So Christina with a K, Sicard, Sicard, that is on LinkedIn. You can do Christina again, .sicard@chase.com. And my Instagram is Chris, Kris _success. And so you can reach me that way. I also do a workshop every Tuesday, every third Tuesday of the month. So on September 16th from 10 to 11:30, I do a workshop at the Skyland Community Center branch for Chase, 2728 Marionberry Avenue Southeast.
Yes.
And that is a free workshop where people can come. And so this week we're going to be talking about the big talk, like access to capital.
That's right. And there is parking, but it's also right on the bus line, right?
Right. So it's really easy and convenient, and it's a great opportunity to come and sit down and chat. And I always try to customize and tailor the conversation to the folks in the room. And so I'm looking forward to seeing people come out.
Now, I have participating in the training. Not only was the material good because you get to walk away with a handbook that you can go back to, but I met people in the room from diverse types of business and at different levels. Why is it important for your branch, or really for Chase, to really give this type of education to our businesses in this time?
Because local businesses are the fabric of our economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The large businesses are the minority. The majority are the smaller businesses, and they are the ones that are going to employ the folks in the community. They're the ones that are going to drive the economy, and we can only capture but so much and continue to grow of large companies, right? So in order to continue the economic growth and sustainability, we need to make an inclusive economic environment that everybody can participate in and be successful if we want to have a successful economy. And I don't think that a lot of people understand that. And I think I full-heartedly believe that our firm and our CEO believes that and is driving that narrative in the work that we're doing, because my services are complimentary, right? So there's no charge for the workshops. Mm-hmm. I also provide complimentary one-on-one consulting and advisory services.
Now let's unpack that, because see, I was in class and I started turning the books and I was like, wow, I never thought about that. From a SWOT analysis to just really knowing what a lean canvas is. A lot of businesses are so got their head down and they just trying to make sense out of what they're doing. Why is it important for them to start with a banking relationship?
Because you need to, like anything else, when you're dating, you need to court the person you're dating, right? And build the relationship. I had a client tell me the other day that when I was down in InvestFest, that they were upset because they couldn't get a check cash when they went into the branch, and they had certain things that they thought should show that they're a valid client. And I said, well, a lot of that comes back to relationship. If I don't know you, right, even though you're presenting ID, there's so much fraud going on that they're not going to be able to say, full-heartedly that they're comfortable, because if they give out money to someone and it's wrong, they lose their job, right?
Yeah.
So they're not sacrificing their job for you.
No, not at all.
And with PPP, we found that a lot of our community didn't get access to funding because they didn't have the relationships to understand what they needed, why they weren't prepared, or how to better make sure that they're in the right spot so that doesn't happen again if something else comes to the table. And so not having a relationship is a downfall. And that's why we're doing this work and trying to build trust, because a lot of it does come from a lack of trust, which is fair, right? There's a lot of socioeconomic disparities and things that have gone on in the past. We've only gotten certain, abilities to do things. We're very, when you look at the timeline. And so we need to repair that. And so that's why we're investing in people, in businesses, showing them how to save, showing them how to budget. And we do this not only for businesses, but we have community managers that focus on personal side as well.
So you got the business and the personal side.
Right.
Now, you mentioned this amazing festival that you just came back from. But before we go to that festival, because you had thousands of people down there understanding the importance of money.
Right.
But that's the times that we're in. Now, here in Washington, D.C., you see, let's really talk about some truth now. You get some people who come in the bank and they are a business owner, but they're not ready.
Right.
What give us some of the things you see? So, because we're going to then talk about how we should be ready.
So we can start at the very beginning. Commingling accounts. They don't have a proper business account, right? They're running personal expenses and business expenses through one account.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, they're not billing properly, right? They're not sending out the invoices on time so that they can have accurate cash flow when they need it, right? So you did the work, but you're not going back and making sure you're getting paid for the work, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the things, everyone doesn't necessarily, every job is not a good job. Knowing your worth, right? Is this profitable? Do you know your numbers? Because a lot of people are paying people to work.
Yeah, right.
And sometimes you have to learn how to say no or figure out what the adjustment needs to be made. Do you need to look at your cost of goods and services and pull back? Are there certain things you shouldn't be offering? Maybe are there things you should be double downing on? Are there things that you need to try to figure out from just your customer base and how to engage them and act and get them to engage more with you? And are you reaching out to them? Some people don't even reach out to their current base, but they're chasing new clients.
Wow.
When the money's already there. Why you already have clientele. You shouldn't be, the cost of the acquisition cost of trying to get a new client is much higher than just
loving the customers that you have.
Right.
So this is why they need to come to your class, right? Because you can go, and I've seen you do this, and you make it so plain, like, again, when is the class?
So I do it every third Tuesday, unless I'm on vacation.
Okay,
but most of the time,
okay. You get a vacation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every third Tuesday of the month, I try to keep it on that theme so people know I could show up.
Yeah.
And there's going to be something going on,
yes.
right? And so that's the goal. So every third Tuesday of the month from 10 to 11:30 at the Chase Skyland branch, 2728 Marionberry Avenue Southeast. And it's open to everybody. You do need to register. So email me, christina.sicard@chase.com, and I can send you the RSVP. And hopefully we want to get a lot of people in the door. The other biggest problem and challenge is people aren't utilizing the resources.
The resources. People are not utilizing the resources. And we have people here. So what I want to do is ask, if you have a question, this is the time to put that. I know Mr. Washington has a question because he deals with a lot of local businesses. So let's kind of come to the mic. Thank you, brother.
you doing, Mr. Carr?
Hi, Mr. Washington.
Right,
so glad we got to reconnect again.
Right, 2023.
Right. So I've been doing this work for a while.
You
I'm
have.
not new to this.
Okay. She's not new to the game.
And I pulled up the email straight away, too.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. So as you're engaging with the businesses, how important, or is it important that they make sure that they open up and make sure that they tell you about their business? How important is that? Because this is their baby. They're entrepreneurships. They're entrepreneurs. They've been doing this thing. It's their baby. They're holding close to their vest. How can you help them if they don't let you help them?
I would be honest. I would say, I'm going to brag on myself a little bit. I would say one of the things that I pride myself on doing is building relationships and building rapport. And I'm an easy person to talk to, right? And so when we do that SWOT analysis, I think I ask the right questions, and I'm genuinely interested, and I'm authentic, and I do a good job of getting people to open up and to converse. But again, that trust has to be earned, right? And so my biggest, I guess, advice to clients is you need to court, right? You can go to 3 different Chase banks, but there might only be one banker out of all 3 of those branches that you connect with, right?
Find your banker.
So you got to find your person, right? And it could be, and you have to interview. And that is, finding your team is something I really talk about is, not only your banker, but you need to have the right accountant. You need to have some type of legal, advice, or lawyer, someone that you can consult with. There's pro bono if you can't afford, an attorney that you have on, retainer or something. But you need to take the time to build the relationships and go around and find that person that you trust.
Got it.
And if someone doesn't know something, do they get back to you, right? Do they follow up? Do they do what they say they're going to do?
Do more than just take my money.
Right. And so once that happens, then you got to be honest and you got to share, because I can't give you the roadmap if I don't know all of the different potholes that we're going to run into on the way to where we're going.
Yeah, that was a good question. You got another one?
I do.
Yes.
The other question is, what if they do not want to take your advice? They know it all. It's their business. They know it all. What do you do then?
Okay.
Do what you do. You. I mean,
did she say that? Do you? Okay.
A lot of times you got to do triage, right?
I think I ask questions.
Yes.
Being a good consultant is asking the right questions.
Okay.
And if you ask enough thought-provoking questions and you ask the right questions, then they're going to think about what they need to do. And if they don't want to take, my advice is never forced, right? And so hopefully they'll see the value in what I'm saying. And usually I'm bringing something to the table that's going to be advantageous. And usually I'm going to figure this out by the end of our conversation, because one thing that I always tell my clients to do is get feedback. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say, was this helpful? Did you gain anything from this? And there's never been a time that someone told me no, right? Do they do every single thing I tell them to do? Not always, but even one step is one step closer to where they need to be. And it's not always going to happen overnight. It's a marathon. It's, and that's the thing. You have to have patience.
Yes.
Especially for some of the challenges that clients have, especially around credit, right? It's, people selling you a dream of these, fixing your credit score and getting it together. It's not an overnight process. You got to be able to get in there and, figure out how you're going to sustain and work towards the goal that you want to achieve.
That's great. Thank you so much. Very
awesome.
Thank you
so much.
Question.
The mic is hot. Anyone else has a question? So while we're waiting for our next person to come up, is there such thing as not enough money when it comes to establishing a relationship with a bank? Thank you so much. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you can't, so you need to find out what the minimum requirement is. Is there a fee? Some banks have free accounts, right? Some banks might charge you a fee or require you to have a minimum balance or require you to do a certain number of transactions or have you link a credit card to that. If you're not prepared to meet those requirements, then maybe you need to wait until you have the money to put in there, because the biggest downfall that I see are people open up accounts, they sit dormant, or then they collect fees, and the next thing you know, it goes into collections, and now this is a negative that has now gone on your credit report. So you've just created an issue that you didn't have to have.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're sitting with the bankers, if you know you don't have the money or the funds to sustain whatever it is that you're signing up for, then you need to wait.
Got it. Yeah, I heard that. Every bank account is not the right time. You got to be able to ask those questions, develop those relationships. We had a question out here.
Do you assist, when you say local businesses, do you mean like physical locations and such like that, which require startup costs and stuff like that?
Or people can walk into. A little louder.
Do you mean only local, like actually physically here, or local meaning any business? So online business included, things of that nature?
Any business, right? Okay. So a lot of, do you mean attending the workshop or just in general the information I'm giving?
I was saying like your clients who you usually are assessing.
Yeah, so I'm from New York, so I have a lot of clients in New York. I've also done a lot of podcasts like this that have a lot of reach, and so I meet people from all over, and I'm able to help them. So my clientele varies in terms of where they're from, and so I'm open to working with anyone as long as you have commitment. So, meeting, getting together at the time we schedule.
Loving the time, respecting the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, got it.
I'll let you cancel if something's going on because I understand entrepreneur's life.
You're right.
But if it's consistent, then, this might not be the right time for you.
Got it.
So that leads into my actual question. So my question was, how do you help businesses like online businesses or whatnot, or businesses that it's not a physical location where people can obviously see what you're selling? Maybe for me, I'm an artist. So my local business tactics would be like I would have to amass customers first before actually being able to sell anything. Does that make sense?
Right. So business development, right? Yeah. So that goes into whatever your target market is, right? That's finding out where your people live. So you're going to obviously be on social media or looking for CR, customer relationship management tools. If let's say you need to cold call certain executives or you need to figure out who the go-to person is, right? So we'll talk about what does business development look like for you. So I might have clients where I'll actually role play with them. Like, okay, here's where we're going to find the clients that you need. You need to figure out who is the contact person that you need to talk to. And then you need to put together your value proposition of why they need to be listening to you, right? You have to have a concise...
This is all from a bank, right? I'm telling you, y'all need to take her class because when you think about sometimes the money's not in the account because you haven't done just that.
Right. And a lot of people come to me for money and I'm like, no, you don't need money. You need more clients. And I live and breathe business development. I've been working since I'm 16.
Okay.
And I started out working in sales when I got in college. I worked full time through college. And once I got into sales, I knew there was no going back.
All
because
right.
in sales, you can triple X what you make based on what you eat, what you kill, right?
You got to do the work.
You kill whatever. Yeah. You
got to do the work.
For me, I'm not gonna say every banker is gonna give you what I'm gonna give you, but that's something I focus on is business development. How do you earn revenue? Not just how are we gonna give you money? Because I need to know what are you gonna do with that money?
Because you got to pay it back too, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's about having a product, knowing what your value proposition is, having a concise way that you're gonna explain that to whoever your customer or whoever you're trying to do business with is, and then closing them on it or having follow-up and understanding that a lot of times it takes maybe back in the day we used to say 7 touches to get to someone, right? And so it's basically figuring out how you're going to identify who those people are you need to talk to, and whether they're going to be in some kind of customer relationship management tool. Like I used to be able to look up businesses and see, I use Salesforce and it will tell me who the executives are who are making the decisions. That's the other thing. You need to find out before you start having conversations with people, you need to understand what is their decision making process.
Yep. And who
because
they are.
who's gonna make the decision,
Yep.
and what does the process entail, and what is the timeline?
Yes.
Because you don't want to be wasting your time pitching to someone that has no clout or no judge.
They can hear you though, right?
They can hear you, but then they're gonna go back and present to somebody else. You don't want that. You want the decision maker in the room when you're having the conversation. Yep. And so part of having the initial discussions is finding out what they need, what are they typically looking for, who are the decision makers, what are their process, what does that timeline look like, and then you need to be able to feed what they need and also temper your value statement to what it is they need and what their buying signals are. And then when you do that, you need to say, hey, so if I can meet these needs that you described to me, can we move forward and do business? And what does the timeline look like that? And then once you've done that, that's how you close a sale.
That's why I came to her class, y'all. All right. Yeah, I'm telling you, you're rolling that full. Again, people are watching and people are here. Tell us who you are, because he has another part of your questions. Tell us who you are again, and how do we reach you?
Christina Sicard. Christina with a K, Kristina, Sicard. My IG is Chris, Kris_success. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well as Christina.Sicard@chase.com. And those are just some of the ways that you can find me.
Awesome. Go ahead. You got another question, then we're going to come to you. You got another question? Yeah.
So I was going to say, how do you help businesses where the business model isn't transactional? Meaning, like, for instance, an artist may not have an audience that he can sell to, but his audience will naturally come to him from display, like from social proofing. Does that make sense?
Right. And so I think, in the business of artists, it's about constantly creating. Yeah. That's what my biggest takeaway, I think, is from some of the most successful artists I've seen, is that the hard work, they never stop. They're forever in creating. Yeah. If you're a creator, you have to consistently be creating. And that way you always have
the grind is real.
The service or the product to show. And as you're creating, I think things just ultimately happen and doors open for you because you're collaborating with people. You're doing this here. You're putting this out there. I think the biggest challenge for creatives is when they get stagnant. Yeah. And then at that point, so you need to be creating. And then, listen, we have TikTok and all of these different avenues, streaming, and, the content game is king right now. And so, you need to be creating content to show people what you're doing. And if you're consistent, and listen, this is my biggest struggle, is working on my content. Listen, I got to take my own advice. But it's something I'm going to be intentionally working on. Yes. Because if you're consistent in those things with creating your, not only creating, but also refining your craft, making sure you're the best at what you're doing, and consistently creating the content as well as the product that you're providing, then everything else will fall around.
It blows up, just like the brothers who started InvestFest.
Right.
I mean, so thank you. You got another question. Thank you so much.
And they started kind of like this.
Yes, they
right?
started in a podcast, and now they had how many people? How many people did they have at their what's the name?
It was like 25, maybe 25,000, 20 to 25,000.
And this is mad energy from everybody from Magic.
Jack Dorsey.
No, really?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on. We got a question here. But I'm telling you, those brothers started by just giving a service rooted in love, making sure people understood the importance of their financial, whatever it is, literacy.
Yep, and I think they've been very successful in driving the numbers in terms of looking at our community and how they've increased in terms of the investments they're making, the smarter decisions they're making around business, the entrepreneurship tracks that you see and the trajectories people are having. So kudos to them. They're definitely doing a great job.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my phone out for a moment and count those numbers, but we gotta Clyde, come on, talk to us. 25,000.
Somewhere around
Oh my
there.
goodness gracious! Let
They
me do
said
that
it was
numbers.
a record, the most.
Yeah, it was a record.
Like year 5 or whatever.
Oh my goodness.
So this goes into the whole content piece. So as someone who struggles with that and who is always creating but not really promoting it, and I know I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. Like I could be so much further along in my business if people just knew like the magic that I have in my kitchen and in, my pantry. How could you support or help guy, like what support could you offer to someone like that who's like really struggling? And I think I also need to go to therapy because I have a bit of anxiety around social media. Like it's just too fabricated and I always feel like I have to prove myself. So for me, like hitting the streets is a lot more fulfilling than trying to post content. So what advice would you give to someone who's really like struggling with marketing on that side?
That's a great question, and I'm gonna first tell her to stop using that word struggle, because just that alone, just getting that hard word out could also be like
Right.
daunting.
Right.
So just exist and do. But I want to hear from you when it comes to our content creators or our businesses knowing that it isn't easy. No one said your dream is going to happen tomorrow or the pathway to your dream is going to be full with roses, right? So what would you say to get her to know that she can, just like those brothers do, and by doing, the world opens up?
Yeah, so I think that going back to Earn Your Leisure, they started with an iPhone, and the two of them,
Earn Your Leisure, yep.
Starting doing what they do. I think we're in a time now where people want to see more authenticity. So I do think that you have an advantage because people want to see real. Like they're like, from what I'm understanding, even some of the brands, they kind of want to see some of the people that don't have maybe the large following, more of the authentic, just, having a conversation. There's a lot of different tools. Like I bought a tool online the other day. It was like a little magnet and you can stick it anywhere and stick it, and then you just hit.
You have one?
Hit record on your phone, and it will, capture you doing what you do in your kitchen and talking. And, I think, listen, I'm not saying choose social media over getting out because I always believe in an acquisition pie. Okay. So you got to be doing multiple things. You need to be getting out, meeting people, networking, collaborating with other brands. And then also you still
your stuff.
You still need to do your social media. But the thing that I think a lot of people discount is the free labor. We got kids, we got nephews, we got people that can get them involved. Let them, earn some of that food you making in the kitchen, right? Yeah. And they live and die by this stuff. Like they grew up in this era. Yeah. So what I tell people is you don't always have to think about trying to find that money to pay a social media manager. Leverage your community. Leverage the people you know.
That's why I love the Show Me. You know about the Show Me What You Love campaign. It literally asks people to get involved in spreading love stories about the businesses that they're connected to by being a customer. So sometimes we just got to ask our consumers to give a love post or ask our cousins to volunteer and feed them, right?
Right.
And so I love the way you meet businesses where they are. And I think we have another question. Okay.
Hi, my name is. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Hi, my name is Jasmine. I have a really simple question. So, what if a business owner comes to you with product and no credit? How does Chase or yourself support them in that process or building their credit, getting them actually business ready or ready to receive capital from the bank?
Wow, another good question. This is why this podcast is set up this way. We want people to be able to really ask those real questions that they might be afraid to do in a large, right? Or me interviewing you, I got some questions, but there's nothing like that question. So please, let's give it to her for real.
Give it to her. So a lot of times I think kind of to start in the beginning, people don't really plan out things, right? They're like, I'm going to do this business. I want to create, and they jump all in and they haven't even thought about a budget, what it's going to cost to create the products, how much their expenses are going to be. Nobody thought about that. All right, let's fast forward because we've already exceeded that problem, right?
Right.
So
Like,
now
we're in it.
Now you're standing in front of me and you have the credit's not where it needs to be, but you need money and you need it fast, right? So a lot of what I'm saying is people need to figure out things like, okay, how are you gonna, let's start pitching, right? So there's things like pitch competitions that you can get into. There's things, when I say pitch, there's ways you can create pitch decks, Chat GPT, Microsoft Word. You can go in and just plug in. You need to get comfortable with talking about your brand, who you are, why people should buy from you, back to that value benefit statement.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you interesting, right? What story are you telling? Like, that's really why people buy.
You know, you just did that, right? You just put both of those questions together. Because the first question was about why was it important to do the post? Because if people are seeing you online and also seeing you out in the community, you are developing credit for what's that called? It's just a social credit that
right,
you
social capital, right? And so what happens is, so once you've created the brand, the pitch, the what you're doing, this is when you need to partner with a banker. There's other places that you can go, like small business development centers all around. Here we have one at Howard. The LEDC is
the
one.
Greater Washington Urban League.
The Greater Washington Urban League, and they can help you with putting your numbers together, right? Your profit and loss, your projections, things like that. Now, when I start talking about pitching, I'm not only talking about pitch competitions, I'm talking about friends and family, right? That's what people typically start out with.
Bring it on out,
right?
Now. Come on.
And that's being able to go to maybe someone you know that might have some additional funds, or a couple of people, sitting them down for a serious conversation and presenting your proposal that you put together well.
Yes.
And saying, hey, if you can make this investment in me alone, I can pay you back at X%. That's a really good opportunity for someone who might have some money that believes in you because you've done the work and you've shown it. And that Magic talked about this with his daughter because he made her do this before he gave her any funding for her business. And so you do that. And listen, we might not all have people that in our family that we know that have money.
But we have people in our family who's going to get a tax return, right?
Right.
Hit them when the tax return is coming.
Right. Or even people in close proximity, right?
Yes.
People that are doing business, maybe a mentor, someone in your industry, right? That might see you coming up and say, okay, I can make a small investment for equity down the line, or give me this return plus an equity or a royalty. Or Shark Tank is a real thing. Bring it to real life. And that's what we're missing in our community, is pitching. Then there's also crowdfunding platforms where you can raise money and do things. And those platforms are really good because you can say, hey, I'll gift you something, or maybe you'll get to give them a return or some kind of equity, or they might not want that. They might just want the support. But what you're also doing when you do those platforms is you're building a customer base.
Yes, you are.
So we got to get creative. Yeah. We got to do that. And then you got to find customers and figure out, okay, it depends what business you're in, but can you get prepayment? So if you're doing clothing, can I get pre-sale orders? A lot of people,
even with food,
some of the biggest companies out here are pre-selling.
Yes.
I saw some Louboutins, and what was they doing? Pre-selling.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
Okay. All right, we got another question because I really want to talk about this.
But you got to work on that credit during this piece, right?
Okay. And how do you do that? How do you work on the credit?
Pulling your credit report.
Okay. Where do you do that at?
Annualcreditreport.com.
Okay.
It's a free place to pull your credit report, all three, and start addressing it. And I'm a big
addressing it like
I'm
I'm gonna pay you your money. I mean, what's up?
There's different ways. There's credit repair all over the place. A lot of times, if you call these people up and you can settle with them, a lot of times people are telling them that's not you. I don't know you. My debt wasn't with you. You need to remove it. There's all these ChatGPT. There's so many ways, right? I'm not the credit expert. but there's people out there that can help, but you want to find reputable people, or you want to figure it out yourself on how
Yes.
you're going to do it. But you need to just address it. Whatever you're
Address
going
it.
to do, address it head on. Don't just sit and linger in it and let it just fester.
That's right. It get worse and worse. Okay, come on. And thanks for coming.
Hi.
Hey.
No problem. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. I wanted to see if I can collaborate on a little bit information for you right here. Something special, and I wanted to put in by our hands.
All right.
Something special about social media is how you're sharing your story. Social media has a way of being very intimidating because we feel like we have to meet a certain standard. But my thing is, I work in marketing and communications at Greater Washington Urban League, and I'm also a photographer and graphic designer on the side. And something about me is I'm always on the go. And I know that in food, you're always cooking, you're always doing something. What do you want to share that resonates with your audience? Do you want to share how you're coming up as a business, what I'm doing on a daily basis? I really struggled with this today, but I know that it can help somebody with this. Or I helped out this family by making them a meal. Or I learned a new meal. How can I share it to people that also have like that type of business to where we can all make a community? And that's where like by our hands is very special because we're sharing stories about businesses all over in DC. Me as a photographer, I'm always on the go, but the special thing about me is I don't mind sharing my story, and I specialize in sharing other people's stories. So don't ever get intimidated by being the perfect social media. Social media is always changing. There's no perfect platform. There's no perfect page. We're always changing. We're always evolving, but focus on what you want to share in this moment to your audience.
Oh, I love it. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
Yes,
Authenticity.
yes. You have another question? You have a question? Okay, yeah, come. Let's get it in.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, how are you?
My name is Tiffany. I own Carvello Crochets, which is a custom crochet business. And this year, I focused on creating quarter goals for me to be able to meet to scale my business and to scale my social media platform. I'm currently at 14.1 thousand
Oh, I love
followers
it. Look at
on
you.
Instagram.
Yes.
I'm almost at 10,000 on
Yes.
TikTok, so I'm very excited about that. But I was wondering, what advice do you have for a business that is trying to scale and get bigger? Is quarter goals a good idea, or is there something else that I don't know about?
Great question.
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I definitely think that you need to have monthly goals as well as quarterly goals, and because a lot of times you don't want to wait until you hit the end of a quarter to figure out you need to pivot or you need to. And so and just because sales in general, when you're thinking about sales and growth, you're always judged on a month-to-month basis, right? So if you don't hit your number in January, you got to carry it over to February, right? And then if you didn't hit it in February, now you got to figure out what you're going to do. What do you need to tweak? Is the number too low? Are you over exceeding the number?
Right, because sometimes that can happen.
Because sometimes that means your number is too low and you need to go higher, right? Is there something you need to pull out of the line? Is there something you need to add in the line? And so it's really important to think about, going in and really looking at your product line and making sure everything is labeled out. You have a chart of accounts if you're using a QuickBooks.
Mhm.
Everything has a department number. Every SKU has some type of way for you to identify it so you can go back and look at the analytics. And then you need to give yourself a goal to hit, right? And if you're not hitting those goals, or or you do hit the goals, whatever that case may be, that's how you're evaluating your business and your growth. And that's how you're setting goals that you can meet and crushing them and getting to the next goal. And that's how you're going to continue your growth. And that's how you start to also vision and project and start to get forecast into what you want to see for the remainder of the year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years. My exit strategy, because at some point that's
That
where
should
you
be a
need
goal.
to be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's a numbers game, and the more comfortable you get with the numbers game and sharing your story and your brand, I think those are the two recipes for success.
I love that. And being able to be free enough to identify your realistic goal and use that goal as a marker. some marker. And that marker sometimes needs to be brought a little closer or stretched yourself a little. But that helps you now to create your perfect week. What day? I got 7 of them, right? I know that maybe 3 of them are work and 2 of them are study and 1 of them is rest. Whatever you may think, you're able to say, how do I create the best life day by day from my existence, right?
And what are the activities? Because creating the numbers is one step, but then once you create the numbers, now you got to back that up. So what activities do I need to do to hit this number? So meaning how many calls, if you're, selling a product, how many calls do I need to make to get to, X amount of product?
Yeah.
And then so it's not only about creating the numbers, it's the behaviors you're going to create and then blocking the time to actually execute on those behaviors, and then blocking the time to focus on your back office, an hour or two, focus an hour or two on business development. These things need to be time blocked in your calendar.
And the more you are able to, like you said, use that calendar, time block it, you're creating your existence. And that's part of being free.
And
right?
consistency
Yes.
that we talked about. So, listen, am I perfect at it? No. But those are the things that, the recipes for success that I try to work on, because I hate being regimented. I don't like it. I'm like, I've always was a rebellious kid growing up.
So,
but
I am like everyone else in this room. I want to tell me again your name and how do we reach you, because we want to stay connected even past this podcast. But I want to dive into why it was important for you to go to Invest Fest and be a part of the 2,500. I put my phone out. I was just thinking out. The average ticket was how much to go?
Maybe 250, 300. I'm not sure.
Right, like 3.
Okay.
That's not. But you want to. Most people in this room want to be. They want to roll like the VIP. So they really want to spend that 1,500 and get all access and everything.
That's what
right?
I did.
Yeah. So again, why was it important for you to go, and tell us a little bit about that event after you give us those names and numbers, how we can reach you.
Yeah. So Christina Sicard on LinkedIn. Chris_success, KRIS_success on IG, and then Christina.Sicard at Chase.com. So
Chase in the house.
Those are all the ways to reach me, because I'm trying to build my own brand.
Yes,
right?
You are a brand, girl. Look at your shoulders.
And so for me, it's about networking, and meeting people and just being present in the room. And I think depending on where you are, for a lot of people.
Okay, hold on, y'all. I'm gonna tell her she flew into Atlanta. Y'all know she didn't go. She wasn't on one of those JetBlue planes, right? So you got to, where was it?
It was at the Georgia Congress Center or something,
which is huge.
Huge, next to the Mercedes-Benz.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you walk in this place, and were you overwhelmed at all the people that was there also?
Well, this is probably my 4th year going.
I'm sorry. Brush your shoulders off again. I'm thinking, first time. Okay, so.
But it can be.
Okay.
Probably for someone who's the first timer, it can probably be overwhelming.
Okay, yeah.
But what I love is there's a lot of content. I mean, and this year, normally it's like a Saturday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
This year they had panels and discussions starting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm talking about things that started at like 9 a.m. going to like 6 and 6:30.
Wow.
And then there was a VIP night when you got to network if you do the VIP ticket.
Uh-huh.
And really they talked about everything from investing to buying real estate, to entrepreneurship, to taxes, to financial planning, to invest, to crypto, to, how to just invest. It's really a financial literacy,
a mecca.
festival, right?
Festival.
For you to really learn. And then they have a vendor marketplace. So if you have a product, now if you don't go to any pop up anywhere, that's the pop up.
That's the pop up.
That's 20,000 plus people that you're getting exposed to. So if you are doing pop ups, you want to be strategic about where you take yourself on the road to, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a great vendor marketplace. I've met a lot of people there that I can connect with. And then for me, it's just like networking and meeting other entrepreneurs and people building businesses and brands, and to that I can help from what I do here at Chase, and then figuring out my ultimate goals that I have for my exit strategy, right? And so I'm always working on those things too.
So Chase is meeting people, business people, where they are. The training is real and it's free because it's affordable.
Complimentary,
complimentary
or subsidized.
Subsidized. There's
Because
parking.
they're paying my salary.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad they're paying your salary. All right, and the Greater Washington Urban League wants to really thank you. And Business Wisdom Wednesdays, this is what it's about. We want our family members to be able to come in, brother just coming now, and get a chance to meet you and each other, so that we truly begin to know that we're stronger together, and that bond only gets better when we know each other. So the classes are when?
Every third Tuesday of the month. The next one will be on September 16th. It's probably my most favorite class because it's going to be access to capital, where we talk about all types of funding. And I'm not someone that's just going to stick to the basics. I'm going to cover all different types of funding opportunities, whether it's, CDFIs, which are community financial development institutions. We talked about the pitching, looking for angel investors, crowdfunding, all the alternative ways to gain access to capital. And, I'm also going to talk about, are you ready? What do you need to do to get ready? And I like to always throw in some, gems in terms of, what are you going to do with this money? What's your return on investment? How is it? Because if you're taking on debt or capital or partnership, how is that going to increase your revenue?
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
Yes.
And if you don't have an answer for that, which a lot of people don't, they're just out here getting money.
Getting it.
For what reason, I don't know. Right? And then they're defaulting, and now they're muddying up the water, because when you do that, it just makes credit tighter for everybody else, right? Yes. So getting a bunch of credit that you can't pay at 0%, and then when the introductory period is over, now you got a big old bill and you can't afford to pay it, and now you go to bad debt. Now guess what you just did? You tightened up the credit lines for everybody else to come, because now people are saying, well, now you got to have account for 9 months. Yep. Now you got to have $5,000 in the bank. Yes. Like, there's things that happen. There's recourse, right?
Yes.
For all the things. So for me, how I differentiate myself is that I'm here to really tell people all the things that's going to help them in terms of, let's make real money, let's make revenue, let's build businesses, let's bring clients in and really, scale.
Yeah. So we're going to send your beautiful bio and pictures. We're going to ask all of those who are here to fill out the post, so we can get a chance to see what people have learned. And we're going to ask you to come back again.
I love it.
Business Wisdom Wednesdays are happening throughout the year. The Greater Washington Urban League understands we have to meet one another. Welcome, brother. How are you? Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. We have to meet each other, and we have to do business in this space. So we know when I come to Chase, I'm looking for you. And I know that if I have a situation, I got a family member in the branch, right? So before you leave today, meet someone that you didn't know before you came. We do have some food over there. Chef Jay, you still in the house? So please, if you haven't eaten, go over there and get some food. Let her feed you. The bar. And thank you for coming. Can I get that high up?
Thank you for having me.
All right.